Welcome back to ArkanSanity. This is episode 12. If you love the show, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Um, that's how we just keep doing this stuff. We keep growing if we do all that. So thank you so much. I'm going to start out with a video of me that is highly controversial, and it's me cutting this tree down. Okay, so some unconventional techniques were used here. You see me. First, we got to address this what you call widow's maker. Okay, you got this tree leaned up at this bad angle here. Clearly, if this tree falls the wrong way, it could hit me. It could knock me off of the tree that I'm standing on. That's right, I'm standing on one tree, cutting on another. And serious stuff here. Okay, so I got a lot of concern, had a lot of feedback, and I posted it on the internet. By the time I got home, my wife had seen it, and then she had read all the comments, and the comments were about how I was gonna get killed and how I had a death wish. And so right when I came into the door, she was already mad at me. She said, "You could have killed yourself out there." And I will say this: I could have. Okay, this is not the best technique that I've ever implemented, but it was what I believe is the time and the place to do it. Okay, so I didn't do a notch, I didn't do a face cut. I just walked up that tree and started cutting. Okay, now a lot of y'all are gonna say that's how you kill yourself, but in the end, I'm still standing here. Okay, I lived to tell the tale. I did pray about it overnight because I knew without that wedge or notch or face cut, whatever you want to call it, it was going to be risky. But the tree was already leaning one way. It was going to be almost impossible for it to fall back on me. But we were worried about that old barber's chair, so they call it, where the end of it can flick up. But if you look, I'm at the full extension of that chainsaw there. So I've got about 3 feet of room, and that barber's chair really can't hit me that effectively, in theory. And for me to do a notch or a wedge, I would have had to get some type of ladder or bucket device, and I think all of that was actually more risky. I calculated it in all my experience that if I did a back cut and did about 2 or 3 different angles, I also did a side cut there at a different angle. If you caught that on the film, that side cut helped relieve pressure from that whip back. Um, so I used all my experience to get the tree down safely as possible, and sadly, that was as safely as possible on this occasion. Now, normally, you wouldn't fall a tree and get it caught in another tree. The tree I was leaned up on, it was rotten at the stump, so it's not like I could have just gone down there and cut it safely. It actually, I think, was safer to cut that branch off that I did, and then cut down the dead rotted stump, because with the rotten tree, you have no clue which way it's going to fall. At least if I cut it off at that point, the highest point I could reach, I knew that what was standing, I knew where it was going to fall. But if I would have cut the rest of the tree, is rotten. It could have fell on me. So I did what I had to do. I want to encourage y'all to not be weak-minded. And if you're doing something dangerous, to pray over it and not take it lightly. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying focus on it, pray over it, and overcome it. Okay? That's my advice. Also, I want to tell y'all about the gym that I'm opening in Fayetteville, Arkansas. It's a really big gym. It's 12,000 square foot, lots of training room. Y'all come check it out on February 21st. That is the grand opening. There are a ton of special guests there, and these guests are really, really amazing people. I mean, seriously, some of my favorite people ever. Jake Shields, Mark Coleman, Russell Brand. Y'all come check it out, and there will be so many more people there. I'm predicting a whole lot of people will be there. And from 12 to 2, I know that we're doing some open gym training type stuff. I'm probably going to be on the mats from 12 to 2, but you can come in and just check it out. So I'm really looking forward to seeing y'all there. There's also going to be food. Y'all know I love food, so come on in and try it out. So we got a sauna. We got the MMA gyms with an MMA padded wall for training, heavy bags, weightlifting area, treadmills. There's all sorts of stuff in this gym facility. A sauna, if I didn't mention that already. There's a QR code on the screen right now. You can scan that and you will get a 20% off on your membership if you sign up early. I really hope you take advantage of that. I want y'all to get the best deal possible, and go to fighthousegym.com. Check it out. So we're moving on to fake news, and this stuff's crazy. Cheerios, Skittles, Pringles, among thousands of products recalled due to presence of rodent waste. Well, I don't eat that stuff, so I don't give a rat's ass if there's rat shit. Why the healthiest milk in the supermarket is labeled for pets only. The legal loophole millions of Americans are using to drink raw milk. That's right. You can't drink raw milk, but your pets can legally. So now, if you buy raw milk, it's got to say for pets only on it. You communist bastards. France becomes the first country to force all supermarkets to give unsold food to the needy. Now, I like that. I mean, at the very least, I'd give it to pigs. But in America, they take all this Walmart scraps and they just dump it in the regular trash. I mean, at least give it to pigs or at least homeless people or a combo of both. Do you know that Pfizer spelled backwards is Rez-Iph and is of Hebrew origins? It means Reshef or burner, god of the plague or of the underworld. I do believe that, and that's the name Pfizer has never made sense to me, and so it does if you say it backwards because it's demonic backwards. It finally makes sense. Man successfully registers potato as a suppressor. That's how you make mashed taters. My favorite. Italy has far more churches than the United States has McDonald's. Yeah, we need more churches and less McDonald's. That's what we need in America. U.S. admits to weather modification and cloud seeding programs. So not only is our government admitting to cloud seeding programs, I've actually seen them coming out and bragging about it now. They're talking about it everywhere, and they're very proud of what they're doing to modify our weather. So now we're doing Ask Me Anything. Thank y'all so much for coming up with these great questions. I'm so glad to interact. This is awesome. Tom I9C4 asks, have you ever seen an Arkansas howler? Now he's talking about something that's kind of like the chupacabra, and no, I ain't seen a howler before. Let me tell you the craziest thing I've ever seen in the woods. This was so long ago that it almost feels like a dream. But let me tell you what I remember very vividly when I was very young. Couldn't tell you how young. I'm just telling you, I know where I was. I was on Sunland back in the day. This is in Cabot, and I remember very distinctly an albino lizard crawling up a tree like an iguana, but it was really fast. It wasn't no iguana. It was a big lizard, and it was albino, had red eyes, white skin or scales or whatever. It was like a little bit bigger than a squirrel, and just scurried up this tree. And I'll never forget that. And that's the craziest thing I've seen. We got another question from Lex Hooper. Hey, Bryce, if you could choose your next opponent in the octagon, who would it be? It'd be a title shot. I can't not say title shot because that's obviously the best fight you could possibly get as a fighter. That'd be matching me up against Yawn. I think that y'all wouldn't be yawning if we fought. I think it'd be very exciting. You'd be very awake for that fight. Dude, that's what I seen, Ghost Man, in the woods. I'm telling you, I seen one of them things climbing up a tree, and it was so long ago, and the memory is so faint. I almost thinking, did I imagine this whole thing? Is this a dream? But dude, I swear it wasn't a dream. I was walking through the woods. This is one day after school, and I seen one of those lizards crawling up a tree. That was in Cabot. 33 Larry Bird says, Bryce, I got a question for the next show. I want to try jujitsu, but fear it's become too gay nowadays. Has jujitsu been gayed out? Well, Larry Bird, that's a great question because to some extent it has been. Okay. And some of these professors are teaching gayness. Okay. Now, let me tell you one red flag because there's tons of red flags. You don't want to be taught from any of this gay jujitsu stuff. Number one thing is if they're teaching you your first option in a fight is to sit on your butt and scoot at the opponent. It's called butt scooting. If they're teaching this butt scooting, they're probably gay. Okay. Now I do know how to butt scoot, but here's the thing. I'm only going to butt scoot if I get knocked loopy. Okay. You won't ever see me in a fight coming out trying to butt scoot. Okay. If I'm butt scooting, I'm hurting. Okay. And I'm fighting for my life if I'm butt scooting. Okay. So don't criticize me. If you see me butt scooting, it's because I'm trying to get up. Okay. I'm getting held down. I do not want to be there. Trust me. So Larry Bird, once again, get you a legit coach, have you some legit teammates, and don't do none of that gay stuff. Okay, it's only gay if you make it gay. Okay, jiu-jitsu, it's cool, it's straight, brother. Harry Omanko, thank you for your question, brother. What about fishing with the Guru episode? Guru just dropped it. He released the Mitchell files. Y'all go check it out, man. We had a phenomenal time. I love the Guru, and he said he's going to come back. We're going to train, barbecue, all of that, make more content. Spimnick asks, this is a question I've had for a while for you, Bryce. What denomination of Christianity would you say you conform with the most? Not that it really matters, as we're all brothers and sisters in Christ, but I felt conflicted lately as a Protestant Christian with the fact that so many Catholic things have been removed and changed over time. I'd appreciate a response more than you know. God bless, brother. Thank you so much, Nick. You're right. It really doesn't matter our denomination. What matters is if we love Christ. And I mean, being Christian should just be one big denomination. You'd think it would be, but we have these little sub denominations. And um, first, to answer the question as easily as possible, I grew up Baptist. I do. Um, I don't go to a Baptist church regularly. The last church that I went to in town was Baptist church. Um, but anyways, I don't really judge anybody off of any denomination that they are, whether, like, for example, I'm cutting trees at a Mennonite neighbor's today. He wants some trees gone. He said I could have them. So I said, okay, that's great. Thank you so much. One man's trash is another man's treasure. And so, I'm more so Baptist or Orthodox kind of in my practices, beliefs, and stuff like that. But I'm going to a Mennonite's house and working with him. And here's the thing, Mennonites are extremely against fighting. I'm a professional cage fighter. Guess what? He still treats me with respect. Didn't say a word about, hey, I think your cage fighting is foul and disgusting. We treat each other respectable, and that's how it ought to be, denomination to denomination. And so really I want to emphasize that there's good things about every denomination. And if anybody says anything bad about Catholics, just remember, hey, if you're Catholic, you can always say, we won the Crusades. End of argument. Christians will just stop, okay? They'll stop chirping once you say that, because the Catholics did win the Crusades, okay? There's so many good things about so many denominations. For example, baptism. Hey, there's a guy named John the Baptist. John the Baptist actually baptized people in water. That's why I like the act of baptism, and I like a lot of the teachings of Baptists because they tend to interpret the scripture very literally. For example, I grew up in a Baptist church, and I didn't really have God in my heart like I should have when I was a kid. But I remember distinctly our pastor getting up to the pulpit and screaming, "That's hogwash! That's hogwash! This earth ain't no 5 billion years old. That's hogwash." And that's because he interpreted the Bible literally. Genesis, if you read the genealogies, it basically tracks Jesus's birth to Adam's, and they're about 4,000 years apart. That puts the world at about 6,000 years old. So that's what Baptists teach. You see what I'm saying? So your denomination can have significant importances for how the certain things you believe and the certain ways you live. So it is important, but more than anything, I want to say I'm not critical of any of your denominations so long as you say Jesus Christ is Lord. If we agree on that, then you ought to get in heaven if you're living in a way that shows that you love God like you say that you do. Okay, so there's my answer to your question. Don't be hating on everybody, okay, just because we ain't all the same. Corn-fed MMA. That's my dude right there. What's up, corn-fed? How do you diversify your portfolio? Precious metals, guns, ammo, crypto. The United States dollar is losing value, and cash is the last thing you want. Hey, corn-fed, you're right, brother. That U.S. dollar is dropping in value fast. Do not hold on to your dollars. Diversify your portfolio with real estate. Um, that's my largest investment is real estate. So that's the number one answer to your question. Guns. I would recommend at least a dozen rifles, a dozen shotguns, and a dozen pistols. And you have a lot of ammo. I recommend a couple thousand rounds for each rifle, shotgun, pistol, and I would recommend the most probably 22. I mean, you ought to have half your ammo pile ought to be probably 22, and then another quarter of it 12 gauge shotgun shells, and then of course some high powered rifle. But anyways, I actually think the 22 might be the most important ammunition to invest in. You really get so much bang for your buck on a 22 round. I mean, you get tens and tens of thousands of them for so cheap. Precious metals like gold and silver, I particularly don't invest in. However, if you have gold and silver, I'm not telling you to go sell it. In fact, I'm telling you to do the opposite. If you already have the gold and silver, just keep it. It's a great keepsake. It will never go down in value. It will always go up in value. You can always trade it whenever you need to. The reason I don't buy gold and silver is because I just don't think I'm personally rich enough yet. When you get to a level of richness where you can't manage any more real estate, cows, chickens, tractors, guns or ammo or food, stored food, and you can't manage any more of that stuff. You have so much of that. Then I think it's time to buy gold and silver, but really gold and silver is for the ultra rich or somebody who's in a shit show and traveling. They're wanderers, and they're moving from one spot to another, especially in times of distress, because then you can take everything with you easily. Gold and silver, it just fits in your pocket. You take it with you wherever you go. That is convenient, but I would much rather have cows, guns, ammo, all of that. And I would rather spend all of my money on that stuff until I have so much of that stuff, like guns, ammo, livestock. By the way, the name livestock, it is, think about it. Literally, it's like a living stock. You are investing in the animal. That's why they call it livestock. It is like stock in the stock market, but it's alive. Okay, that's why they call it livestock. Invest in livestock. The regular stock I do not invest in at all. Like I said, I'm all real estate, so I don't do stock markets. I invest in real estate. I buy land and what I can afford, what little I can afford, and then I farm it. I do have a little bit of Bitcoin, and I got sponsored some Ethereum, and so I've just held on to it. And I don't even know how much I've got. I've got to check my little portfolio thing or whatever and see if maybe I should sell it or not. But uh, I think I'm gonna wait. And the reason I'm gonna wait to sell any type of Bitcoin that I have, what little I have, is because I literally think they're gonna crash the dollar on purpose. They being our government. I think our government is going to crash the dollar, and then that'd be a great time to sell Bitcoin because it's gonna shoot up in value as soon as they crash the dollar. They're gonna crash the dollar because they want us to suffer and they want us to not have a currency. We're easier to control, and then they'll implement their new digital currency. That's how they're really going to get us. So, corn fed. I hope that answer was not too long. I really wanted to answer that question to the best of my ability. Thank you for asking. God bless y'all. And thank you all for those questions. Can't wait to do the next Ask Me Anything. I'll see y'all next week. And now we're going to get into Farmonomics, probably my favorite sector of Bryceonomics, okay? The reason that Farmonomics is such an important section of Bryceonomics is because it's what really feeds everything else. Everything else in Bryceonomics is based off the fact that you already have your own food source, okay? That's right. Bryceonomics don't work without Farmonomics. That's what I'm trying to explain to y'all. So I started farming personally because I had a very deep sense that our government was evil and that they were going to destroy our country. They were going to enslave us, and we wouldn't be able to afford food. Our money would be so worthless that we literally couldn't even afford food. And so that I basically started farming so we wouldn't be living under government control, me and my family and the small community of people I can farm. And there's no other reason that I started. That is why, because I knew the economy was going to get bad. And then every other reason is just a cherry on top, you know. Of course, I love steak. I love eggs. That's why I picked them first. The grid can fail overnight. And y'all know if that grid fails, all this fancy way of life we have, it fails too. I don't think our grid will fail, but it's always good to be prepared for if it did, at least I could grow some potatoes. You know what I mean? Farming equals independence plus stewardship. Farming is the first job God ever gave man. That's right. And the Bible is full of farming references. I mean, seriously, it's almost impossible to add up all the times that the Bible mentions farming. I mean, you reap what you sow. There's so many famous sayings from the Bible that's all related to farming. Ghost, man, that's probably my favorite picture of all time right there. That picture was taken in the summer. Look at that, man. That's why I farm right there. You see them cows grazing in that green grass, that sun setting in the back. That looks like heaven on earth to me. That's why I farm right there. You know, without farming, it's this simple, guys. You don't eat. And I know everybody wants to thank military uh, member. Everybody wants to thank a law enforcement officer. Everybody wants to thank an EMS driver. And everyone wants to thank doctors. And I love every single priest even. I love all of them. I love everybody in this country that contributes to it, that helps other people. Without all of us, this country doesn't work. But if you want to break it down, what's number one? It ain't nothing but a farmer. And there ain't a close number two. You hear me? I said there ain't a close number two. We can do everything without everybody else. We don't need doctors. We don't need lawyers. We don't need police officers. We don't need militaries. We don't need none of that. You have to eat. There has to be a farmer. Do you understand that farming is the basis of life? They never get any credit, but they feed everybody. So that's what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about Farmonomics, I'm talking about the most important job there ever was. And everything else that sounds cooler and is more interesting, or you have to be smarter to do, all those jobs are great. But you don't have none of them without farming. Promise. You don't have advanced societies without advanced farming methods. Promise. So remember how important a farmer is. And the farmer, what's nice about being a farmer is the farmers know the real value of life, and they really work in the dirt all day, and they're more connected to that dirt. They really kind of get the sense that we all are dirt, and we're not no better than dirt. And farmers go to bed with dirt in their fingernails. It really solidifies in the farmer's mind that no man is greater than another. We're all, our bodies just all turn to dirt at the end of the day. And I want you to know that nobody knows that dirt like a farmer. I'm just telling you. And it's all about that good dirt and that good soil. Okay, that farming will humble a man in a way that nothing else can. Because as soon as you stop farming, the human mind tends to think I've stopped it because I'm above it. I've moved on to bigger and better things. And you lawyers probably think, oh, Bryce, you're just a numbnuts. You're out there in the dirt all day or the soil working the animals that stink. And you tend to start thinking that I'm an idiot and that you're so much more significant because you sit at a computer, or you sit in a courtroom, or you sit somewhere where there's not smelly animals and you don't have to clean up their manure with the pitchfork. And so these thoughts tend to corrupt a man because you have another man outsourcing all your food. There's another man tilling in the field. And so you don't have to. So when you eat and that food goes in your mouth, it goes in your mouth because another man's hands tended to that food. Another man's hands put that food on your plate. And so you forget sometimes, if you don't farm enough, you forget that another man is bringing that food from the field onto your plate, and you're depending on another man. And it might even be a woman. I'm just saying, man or woman, there are other people that you're depending on because you have neglected the importance of bringing your own food to the table. So now you will depend on others to feed you. And yes, I depend on others to feed me too. Okay. I go to a Mexican restaurant and order food, and I'm happy to pay other people for food. I'm not demeaning you if you pay other people for food. But what I am demeaning is the people that think that they don't have to farm because they're better than the farmers. And when you start thinking like that, you're about as foolish as could possibly be. Okay. And hey, you can be a fool. You can live in the city, okay? Because I'll stick to my farm and my manure, and I'm just happy. Well, not my manure, my animals' manure. I ain't touching my manure, okay? Genesis 2:15. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it. So we're seeing early scripture here directing men to farm the land. Okay, we have it in our blood, it's built in us. And when we farm the land, we do honor God. I promise you that. So, what's the goal of my farm? Like I said, provide for yourself and your family, foster life, build systems that sustain families regardless of the financial markets. Okay. I'm not into these financial markets. If you can't tell, I'm into Farmonomics, all about farming. Oh, look at little Tuck Tuck in the corn. Doesn't get cuter than that right there. So it was really cold in Arkansas this past couple weeks, and my cows usually give birth right in the coldest part of the year. They've timed their bodies to do that every year. When it gets cold, they give birth. And this calf here, her name is Lilac. Aaron named her. And Lilac was having problems not taking to the udder, but getting milk out of Coco's udder, her mama's Coco. And we had to, actually, Coco almost killed me twice because, I was trying to get the calf from her. We had a crew out there, had 3 people, Tyler, me, Mr. Tommy, and we were trying to get that calf out of there while I had the tractor and I kind of blocked Coco, and then Tommy came in on a 4-wheeler and Tyler held the gate open. And then I got off the tractor, put Lilac in the back of the 4-wheeler, and then the cow runs around the tractor. But by that time, Tommy had already took off. And then I jumped on the tractor and got out of there. And so we separated Lilac from Coco, brought her inside, brought her in the gym, and gave her some good milk. And really, she was having a problem wanting to take milk, actually. She took a little bit out of that bottle. We thought maybe the bottle's the problem. So we modified that nipple on the bottle for like 20 minutes. Tried a couple different nipples. She wasn't really taking milk. And Coco has problems with her udders in the back. And her udders were swollen up, and at first we didn't think that she was getting any milk, so that's why we decided to separate. We put her back after trying to milk her, noticing she wasn't taking any milk. We just put her back with her mom, and then by that evening, we noticed that she was actually taking at least small amounts of milk. And Lilac is still alive and healthy. She's moving, she's walking, totally responsive, and we do think that she is taking milk from Coco. And there's something wrong with, like, Coco has like at least 4 udders, but like 2 of them look messed up. They look swollen. And so it looks like maybe only 2 are producing milk, and maybe Coco's back 2 udders might be giving her problem. But also the calf is very healthy and Coco seems very healthy. So we've not took any further medical precautions, because every medical precaution with a mean cow like Coco, she's meaner than a hornet's nest, dude. She will kill you. And I don't really like working mean cows at all. And I'm just going to let nature run its course. And Coco's so mean that if she was to pass away and it's cold because of some complication, I'd just say, well, God, thank you, for doing what you do and sorting that out for me. But I don't want Coco to die. I want her to live, but I'm also not going to go try to doctor her. She's out of all the cows I have, I think Coco is actually the only one that's really what I'd consider mean. Like, watch out for her. Don't walk too close to her or nothing. And a lot of people probably would already put Coco down, but I haven't done it yet because every time that she's charged. It's kind of been, I was walking near, or she had a calf. Almost all the mama cows are on edge when they have a calf. So Coco's just more aggressive than the average cow. But anyways, I don't want to put Coco down yet, and she hadn't put me down yet. Thank God. There's Tucker trying to steal the cow's milk. Wow. But I'll tell you what. Yeah, that's the story with that calf Lilac. She's at full health, and I will keep y'all updated. If she has any decline of health, I will let y'all know. But right now, she's on the up and up, and so is this podcast. So, a lot of people are wondering what a farm actually is, and I want to ask the audience, what do y'all think a farm is? And here's my question. What is one thing that all farms have? Every single farm has this in common. You will never see a farm that does not have this. And now there's a lot of different types of farms out there, but I'm telling you, every farm has this one thing. That's a farmer. That's right. The number one thing that defines a farm is the farmer. So if you're out there and you're thinking, hey, I don't think I can do this, I don't have enough equipment, I don't have enough land, I don't have enough friends, I don't have enough livestock, I don't have anything. Remember, the number one factor in what makes a farm is the farmer. It's you. When you flip that switch, when you take responsibility, when you say, I'm going to be what I'm destined to be. I'm going to farm this land, come hell or come high water, because I'm a farmer. And the farmers farm, and there was never a farm that didn't have a farmer. There was never a farmer who didn't have a farm. And let me tell you, what makes a farm is a farmer. So if you want to have a farm, look in the mirror and tell yourself, I'm going to be a farmer and I'm not going to quit. And that's what it's about to me, because you should see the inefficiencies in my farm. You could make fun of me all day off of how small my yard is that I farm, off of how few cows I got, off of how my tractors won't start. You could make fun of how I get my tractors stuck, or how they break down, or how I got injured. You could make fun of all the things that I did to mess up, or that I was inefficient, or the time that I've wasted, or money that I've wasted, things I've done wrong. But you can't tell me I ain't no farmer, because I put food on that table. I put more food on that table than I can eat. So let me tell you what, son, I'm a farmer. Okay? And you can't take that from me. And I like that. In fact, I love that. And that's something good about being a farmer. Nobody can take that from you. If you make up your mind, I'm a farmer, then you're going to be a farmer, and ain't nobody going to stop you. So I'm encouraging y'all to go out there and farm and get your pitchforks ready, okay, because you're going to need them. Genesis 1:28, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Once again, right there in Genesis, we see another farming reference. Be fruitful and multiply. That's what God tells us to be about ourselves, and I'm trying to be as fruitful and multiply as much as possible. And I encourage y'all to, if you have the Lord in your heart, go take wives, make children, build your farm, and build your houses. Okay, build your houses on your farms. Okay, so the core philosophy of farming, what's it come down to? Okay, this is the word of the week. Let me write it out for you. Hey, this is the word of the week right here. Soil. Okay, because a lot of people are getting dirt and soil mixed up. And let me tell you, what's the difference in soil and dirt? Soil is dirt with life in it. Okay, once that soil has grown all the life that it can, and there's no nutrients in that soil, it's now dirt. Okay, and we don't want no dirt. We want soil. And I know it might seem insignificant. You might be thinking, hey, you're soiling all my time here. Okay, you're wasting my time telling me this. No, I'm not. Soil is the basis of your life. And as soon as you think you're better than the soil, that's when you're soiled. Your brain's been soiled, because you're no better than the soil. And I'm just trying to tell you that. Okay, that's why it's the word of wisdom of the week. Because farmers, it's about farmonomics, and farmers don't farm anything but soil. I'm just telling you, there's never a farmer that's ever farmed anything but soil. And some farmers think they're better than other farmers because they say, oh, well, I farm cows and you only farm chickens, or I farm potatoes and you're stupid because I farm carrots. Guess what? They're all wrong if they're going to be arguing about that, because everybody farms soil. Soil is what the farmer farms. Everything else depends on the soil, as in my cows eat grass, grass eats soil. I farm soil. I make sure the grass grows in the soil, and then I put the cows on it and make sure they don't leave. That's what I do. So, I say I farm cows. I don't. I farm the soil. Okay. I'm just kind of being a little bit more specific when I say I farm cows. There's the cows eating right there in the backyard. Actually, if the grass in the front yard gets real high, I'll let them up in the front so they mow the yard. That's an Arkansas lawnmower, buddy. So remember, soil is the basis of all of it. When it comes to importance of things on the farms, the number one thing, of course, besides the soil is what everything has to have to actually grow. I'm going to say water. That's number one in terms of what you need. You need water. Okay. If you don't have water at your farm, everything's going to die. That's just a basic 2 + 2 = 4 there. Number one, water. Okay. You can probably dig in the ground far enough to hit water. If you don't have it in Arkansas, we are highly blessed. And if you live in Arkansas, you might not know how blessed you are. Thank God every day for the water that we've got, because Arkansas has a ton of water, and I literally thank God all the time. The water is my favorite part about Arkansas. The second favorite part for me is the trees. And I also love pasture, but there's a lot of pasture everywhere. You don't see trees and water like you do anywhere else in Arkansas. We have so many trees and so much water, and I love God. Thank you for that, God. There's old Bonnie laying in the mud. There's a good map of the Arkansas. Thank you, Ghost Man. That's got the topography in it. You see the delta over there at the east. That's over there in the east part of the delta. That's where they farm a lot of cotton, soy, corn, rice, all in that delta over there. And actually, Arkansas is the number one producer of rice in the country tenfold. There's nobody in the country that even is close to as much rice production as Arkansas. We're probably more than 10 times the production than the second closest state. So if you're eating rice made in America, it probably was grown in Arkansas. I mean, it seriously would grow all the rice. It's because of the low-lying water, wetlands down there. You can grow rice in those wetlands by flooding it. Only the rice can grow, and competition can't exist in the water. So that's how we grow a lot of rice in Arkansas. So yeah, access to water, clearly that's important. Okay. Farmers, as far as national survival go, there's no more important job in the country. I want to stress that, not because I'm bragging, but because it's a very notable fact. It needs to be recognized. And I'm not just trying to hold it over your head and say, hey, farmers are the most important job of all time every single day or every single episode. I'm not going to say that. But right now, this is Farmonomics, and I'm telling you why it's important. I'm going to tell you they are the most important job ever. Farmers are. And I don't care what any other teacher has told you. If some other teacher is trying to gay you out and tell you that the farmers are number two, tell them, nope, you're number two. Farmer's number one. That's right. Don't get gayed out. Okay. That's why you come in this classroom and I teach you real stuff. Farmers are number one. Rule number one. Rule number two, you're number two. Okay. All these other jobs can go on strike. And I think that they should. I think that all the railroad workers, when they get in a jam there at work, I think they ought to go on strike. I think the nurses ought to go on strike for getting treated like crap. I think that even the cops, if they get treated like crap, they ought to go on strike. I think everybody ought to go on strike. But I tell you one person that can't go on strike unless there's some type of war going on, and I tell you that's the farmer. Okay, so all these other jobs, they can go on strike all day. And you won't really notice unless you're watching the news. Wait till the farmer goes on strike. Buddy, you're going to know about it early that morning. Everybody's going to be talking about it. If the farmers go on strike, we're all dead. So remember that. Farmers feed the army. Thus, the farmers are the army. Okay, that's their main source of supply is the farmers. Okay, an army marches on its stomach. Okay, I've said it a million times, and I mean it. What's wrong with the modern farming? Well, I want to talk to y'all about that here briefly because I can very quickly tell you pretty much what's going on. Basically, all of our farms have been monopolized. Okay. So, like 3 to 4 companies own all the cows, pigs, and chickens. All of it. All the livestock is owned by basically 4 companies. And then they go through like 2 more companies to process all the meat. So only 2 companies or 4 are providing all the livestock and processing it. It's very clear. All people in this country are being fed primarily by 4 companies. That's called monopolization. Back in the day, uh, an agrarian economy would basically see about more than half of the people in the economy involved in farming. Now we have less than 2% of our population farms. That means 98% of something people in our society have nothing to do with a plant, a vegetable, a fruit, or any type of livestock. They have no clue what to do, how to run a farm, how to provide their own food. 98% of people cannot feed themselves. If the power went out and we couldn't call each other on phones, they wouldn't know what to do. They don't have no chickens to get no eggs. They don't get no beef to eat any steak. Okay. And now out of that 2%, I want to let you know that more than half of them are 50 plus years old. So less than 2% of our 50 plus year olds are feeding the whole country. We are in a extreme situation because not enough of our people are farming. Less than 2%, and out of that less than 2%, more than half of them are 50 years old. Guys, do the math. We're going to starve to death if young people don't start farming. Okay, so that's why I'm all about this stuff. I'm trying to encourage you, and you could very easily have a farm even cooler than mine. Okay, if you just put your mind to it, there's so many things that can be done, and I really do think that big farms are going to take off when we see really, really rich people actually thinking it's cool to farm. Right now, the blue collar workers or the average man thinks it's cool to farm because they know there's not a lot of other options. When the richest people in our society stop saying, "Hey, I'm going to invest in the stock market. I'm going to invest in livestock." That's what I want to see. I want to see a world filled with people who, when they get rich, they just want to feed other people. And that's what I want to do. That's what I'm doing with all my money. I put all of my money into the farm. Okay. I ain't got no money in the bank, but I'm farm rich. I got my old tractors. I got my livestock. I got my cats, my dogs, my hay, my logs for the wood stove. Buddy, I'm farm rich, okay? And that's how I like it. All this money, you should only want to make money to put it into the farm. It's that simple, okay? And if you want to build a tank out of a dozer, I think you ought to do that too. That's worth money, in my opinion. Um, Now, I'm gonna close because I've talked about the. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to say one more thing, a couple more things. It's bad about modern farming. One is the government restriction. That's right. Regulation equals strangulation. Our farmers are being choked to death. They cannot sell their meat to Walmart. I can't sell my milk to my neighbors. Um, I can't sell it to Walmart. Basically, if I was allowed to sell my milk at Walmart, that'd be fair competition. If I was allowed to sell my meat to Walmart, that'd be fair competition. If I could sell my meat to my neighbor, can't do that. That's what's killing our economy. That's what's choking our farmers. It is the government. So build up the farm so that we can actively resist tyranny. Can't resist tyranny if you can't provide your own food. The government is stopping us by controlling the laws of farming, okay? Telling you who can buy, who can sell, who can do what. It's nonsense. It's totally evil. Okay. And then another problem with farming that I see is a dependency on centralized agencies. Example, John Queer, they're making it to where you can't work on a tractor no more. That's right. You have to take it to John Queer and they have to fix it for you. So this stuff is evil. They're basically making tractors now where you can't fix and you have to pay $100,000 for it, and then it's going to break in 4 or 5 years. Guys, the new technology, is actually going backwards. I really do think. Now, I'm not totally against tractors or mechanized equipment. Okay, I collect tractors and I use it myself. I do farm with machinery, but I actually think that the older machinery is made better. The purely mechanical and minimized electronics. Um, so when I'm talking Farmonomics, just remember I'm always for as much unsophistication as possible. But when I do have to use something mechanized, I'm all for it. But it should be affordable. It should be, if it breaks, I can fix it in my garage. Um, and because if I have to go to somebody for a tool and then if it breaks, I can't fix it, they have to, then I now am owned by this person. I can't farm without this person. That's not how farming is. Farming is for everybody and anybody ought to be able to do it. So if you're using tools that somebody else now owns you, then that's what I'm against. I'm against all that. So remember, always take freedom over sophistication. Okay, freedom first. That's my methods, and I'm really happy with my old diesel equipment and my old gas equipment. Um, there's an old Massey Ferguson I run. We call them Old Freedom. It's a good running Massey right there. Starts right up. A lot of power in that Massey too. I think it's over 100 horsepower. I'm about to put some forks on it and move some logs with it. But that bucket there is great for the loading up firewood, like chopped up little pieces. But for these logs I'm moving, I'm going to put some forks on the front of it. Y'all know I've been doing that logging operation. I'm a full time logger now. Okay, and another big thing wrong with farming, not only the modern equipment required and dependency on these central agencies, the grants, the loans, all the bullshit, the government giving out subsidies to this farmer, that farmer, that's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. But the poisons, okay? The people are literally being poisoned. The gramoxins, the whatchamacallit, not the glyphosate, okay? Basically, they're pouring Roundup on your corn, and they don't want to tell you that. And let me tell you, if you use gramoxin or you use Roundup and you farm corn, I'm going to tell you right now, you're a coward. I never put anything poisonous on my crops, ever. I would never put it on my farm. I might put it on an anthill. If the ants were bad enough, I might actually use that Roundup on ants. I'd never use it on weeds. Hell, just cut the weeds. Hell, hit them with the bush hog, hit it with the mower, hit it with the weed eater. But why you want to pour cancer-causing ingredients that absorb into the ground and project into the atmosphere, into the world? Why would you pour that in your lawn or on your crops? You're a total fool. Anybody who uses gramoxin or glyphosate to farm, you're a coward. That's what I don't do. I'm against any chemicals, and I'm as natural as possible. I do love medicine on cows. If the cow gets sick, if I see some pus coming up, hey, I'm going to shoot some antibiotics in that cow with a needle. Okay, I'm not against modern medicine, but I'm very limited in my approach. I'm very minimalistic and only use modern technology as little as possible. But to say I don't use modern technology, that would be ignorant. I'm doing this podcast on a computer, okay? How it really ought to be when you're farming is it ought to be a cycle of life, okay? The livestock actually produces natural fertilizer. It's poop. You work that poop, and then you spread it out into your crops, or you till it into the crops. You find some way to break that manure down and then implement it into your crops. And you use your livestock to fertilize your fields that you grow your crops on. That's what it's all about. And they call this regenerative agriculture. I knew what that was before it was a word. I just call it common sense. Okay. But yeah, well, regenerative agriculture. That is now a word. It is a thing, and it's common sense. You rotate your crops and your animals so that you're never eating poop. you know, you work the poop and break down the manure into the soil, into the dirt, turn the dirt into soil. Okay. Basically, if you have dirt and you want soil, you take the dirt and you put the manure on it. Boom, you got soil. Okay. Word of the week is soil. I forgot to tell you how to make it. You take dirt and you take the manure. You marinate them, two become one, and you have soil. That's how you farm. You take that soil, you put a seed in it. It grows anything you want. Then you got to water it. Then you got to pick the weeds out. And it's that simple, guys. Make up your mind on what you want to farm. I picked uh, cows and chickens to start with because I really like steak and eggs, and it was that simple for me. That's what I wanted to start with. And I love watermelons, so I started growing them. And my Mimi taught me okra and tomatoes was the best. And so I started with watermelons, okras, tomatoes, and I can barely spell potato, but I tell you what, I can grow one. So that's all that matters, man. All this modern crap don't matter. All this fancy stuff, all that matters is the food that we eat, our families, and our clothes, our houses. That's what should matter, not your bank account and all that stuff. And yes, I stress about money too. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm above stressing about money, but really, the money should only matter because we want to feed our family. And you shouldn't stress about anything other than your farm, your wife, your kids, and what you have to eat, and if your house is leaking out of the roof or hot or cold enough, those should be what you worry about. And the modern world encourages us to stress over such things of little importance. I want to simplify it for you and tell you that the food you eat is the most important thing in your life. Focus on it. And also, too, guys, all of these systems are going to fail, but the farmers ain't going to fail you. They're always going to farm. Okay. So when everything else fails, I guarantee you farmers are still farming. You just remember that and you mark my words. Farmers are always going to farm. That's what a farmer does. And Jeremiah 29:5-6. This is God's word, not mine. It's much better than mine. It's actually where I was inspired to preach all of this today. In the book of Jeremiah, God's people are enslaved. He instructs them to take wives, make children, build homes on their farms. Check it out. 29:5-6. Build houses and live in them, plant gardens and eat their produce, take wives and have sons and daughters. So that's God's survival blueprint right there. Farmonomics. I think I'm hoping that I really honor God in today's episode. Proverbs 12:11. Whoever works his land will have plenty of bread. That's right. Work your land, have your bread. Your farming equals your freedom. Okay. That's what I want y'all to know. And I love you. And God bless you. Remember, don't be a consumer. Don't be a spectator. Be a farmer. Bow! Right in your kisser. Bow! One to your mother.